You are listening to Single Smart Female.
This is us letting it all hang out for your love life, examining Steph's dating experiences and answering your hot topic dating questions. Just you, Steph, and me. No topic is off limits and no filters involved. This is Jen.
And I'm Steph. If you have a question about your love life that you would like us to answer, you can submit your question at singlesmartfemale.com.
Welcome, Single Smart Female, to show 58. I'm your host, Jen Burton, romantic fairy godmama to smart, successful, single women around the world. And big surprise, I am joined by my co-host / romantic fairy godmama apprentice, Steph. Say what's up, Steph.
What's up, Steph? Sorry.
Gosh, we're bad.
I can't help it.
I know. Okay.
You set it up for me and
I set it up and you scored. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Today's topic, how to handle indecision.
Oh.
So this is a very hot button topic, especially between Steph and myself. Not that we argue about it all the time, but I'm not saying that I'm an overly decisive person, but I've gone from feeling very indecisive about life to a place where I've developed the ability to make decisions. And we're going to talk about that today. And I know Steph sometimes becomes frustrated with me because she'll tell me about scenarios where she's having trouble deciding on something. And I am the type of person now that, since I do so much strategy in love life and other pieces of other people's lives, that I help them make that decision. So she wants to sometimes just have somebody hear her, and I go automatically into strategy. And I know that's been very frustrating in our friendship at times. Although, she still loves me regardless. At least she says she does. Things that make you go, But Steph, I want to throw it to you for a second. I mean, on a level of 1 to 10, 10 being really indecisive, how decisive do you feel, or indecisive do you feel?
So 10 being really indecisive?
Yes.
I feel like I'm at like an 8. Honestly, okay. I feel pretty indecisive about a lot of things in my life.
And is it, I'm guessing that it brings up a certain level of frustration?
Oh yeah, it's extremely frustrating. It's so hard to want to know exactly what you want and just go for that, but not really know. Or maybe I do know and I'm not comfortable acknowledging it for whatever reason.
Okay. So
a lot of overanalyzing going on here.
We were talking about overanalyzing, and that Steph is an overanalyzer. And I said, I have to be honest, I think women in general, we do that a lot. And I think there becomes a point where you have to let go of it on a certain level because it can drive you basically crazy and make you doubt everything in your life all the time. So I want to talk about today to help women out there. And this is, by the way, before we get into this is not a perfect system, but I want to talk about how I started to become more decisive in my life and what actually helped me, and then possibly how you can recreate that in your life. So I'm going to be really upfront with all of you ladies out there. The reason I started to become more decisive about things was by opening this business. There are so many as a business owner, and if you're a business owner, you know this. And yes, it exists in other levels in career and things like that, but there's so many decisions that have to be made by you exclusively as a business owner that you constantly have to practice being decisive. And if you're bad at it, you have to start getting good at it very quickly. But I want you to always to know that making decisions doesn't mean, and becoming good at making decisions doesn't mean that you're always right. I want to say that before we start any of this. It doesn't mean that you're always right. It doesn't mean that everybody's always going to like the decisions that you make. It just means that you hear a solution or you hear some options and you make a decision on it and you move forward with it. It's a completely different scenario than being always right. And I want to say beforehand, that's probably the number one thing I want you to know. Just because you become good and decisive doesn't mean that everything's going to come in a pretty bow after that, regardless. But that also doesn't mean you shouldn't become more decisive. So with that said, I'm going to say the number 2 thing in becoming decisive, and here's the steps that I want you to follow, is first one is understand that as you make decisions, it doesn't mean it's going to come in a pretty bow all the time afterwards. But number 2 is you have to do some research, but not too much research.
I am the queen of researching.
Yes, you absolutely 100% need to do some research, but you need to limit the research that you have to do. Now, I got a good boost from having a business and then having a child and being in a marriage. I had, so many things that were competing for my time that I didn't have the endless amount of time to. I have deadlines that had to happen if anything was going to move forward in my business, plus being able to be attentive to the other parts of my life. So I had something that was imposed there, and that helped me. As a single woman, you may or may not have any of that, meaning you might have a little bit of it from the men that you're dating. Mm-hmm. You might have a little bit from, of course, you'll have deadlines from if you work for somebody, but it might not be the massively, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They might not be really strict deadlines.
Right.
Okay. So it'll give you the opportunity to do over research things. And you have to be able to say, you know what? I've done enough research. I'm going to go ahead and make a decision. So do the research, but not too much. And you'll start to define how much research is actually really needed. Okay. Number 3 is you're going to pick an option. You're going to go ahead and pick an option, and you're going to execute that option. So you're going to go ahead
and make a decision?
Yes, you're going to make that decision. You're going to go ahead and do it. So you make the decision and you go ahead and do it. Don't leave a lot of time in between, because then your doubt is going to creep in if you leave too much time in between. You're just going to go ahead and do it. And the next piece of that, number 4, is if once you make that option and you're executing, don't you dare do it half-ass. So a lot of times we'll make a decision and then we'll set the decision up to fail by doing it half-ass. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We'll do, let's say we decide to date, or we decide to online date. Here's a great one. Women will put up a whatever profile instead of saying, okay, I'm going to take my time and put up something really good, something that I'm very proud of and that excites me. They'll put up a whatever profile because they're nervous. They're doing it half-ass. And then their decision, when nothing happens in their life, they're being told that they made a bad decision.
Yeah, it's kind of reaffirming a fear that they had, right? Like you're setting yourself up to, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I was having so much trouble with this, because it doesn't work anyways, kind of a thing. Where if you had put in the full Monty.
The full Monty.
You put in like 100% of your effort into something. And I get it, right? Like nobody wants to put in 100% of effort into something and then still fail. Mm-hmm. That sucks. It sucks worse than not trying. But on the opposite side of that is you could have something really beautiful come out of it. And you will also be very proud of yourself for just doing something.
Yeah, for doing something, especially owning that decision and not doing it half-ass, which actually I said owning, but that's number 5, is that you need to own the decision you make, and no matter what happens, make the best of it. So just because you make a decision and what happens after the decision, it doesn't happen exactly the way that you anticipated, that doesn't mean it's not creating another opportunity for maybe you to just pivot 2 degrees or to pivot and do a 180. There's lots of options there. Every decision you make in your life can help you and it can teach you something. So being pissed off because you made a decision and then saying, I don't even know why I keep trying to be decisive because it just keeps blowing up in my face. The only way to get good at it is to keep doing it. So number 6 is you're going to rinse and repeat. And you're going to go through this process time and time again with the little things. You can start with the little things and then you'll go to the bigger things. But what I don't want you ladies to do is just let decisions in your life be decided by everybody else. Now, there are certain situations, I'm not going to lie, where it's okay to do that. But be comfortable making these decisions in your life. They're yours. They're guides to everything that you want. Even if you don't think you know what you want, the only way that you're going to find the clarity is through engagement. By the way, that's not my quote. That's actually a Marie Forleo quote. I have such a hard time with her last name.
Marie Forleo?
I thought it was Forleo. Yeah, you're right. It's Forleo. And I took classes with her in 2010, and I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with her last name. But one of the things that she says is that clarity only comes through engagement, not thought, which means if you just keep thinking about it, you're never going to be able to be decisive on it. So you have to be willing to make a mistake because we're not perfect. Yes, a lot of us have perfection syndrome. I know what that is. I get it. But do it anyways. Go through these different steps. Do some research, but not too much. Go ahead, pick an option. Do the option. Don't do it half-ass. Own your decision. Make the best of it. Enjoy the hell out of it. Celebrate the fact that you made a decision. You could have a freaking party that you made a decision. Let's say you make a really big decision in your life. Have your girlfriends, your guy friends, have everybody celebrate the decision with you. If you're going out on a date and you've made a really, really huge decision, let him celebrate with you. Even if you're not in an exclusive relationship, it's a really cool, fun things to do. Let him, tell him, say, hey, I used to be a very indecisive person. I made this really big decision and I want to celebrate. He's going to find it so endearing.
I can just imagine being on a date and being like, let's order champagne. I would like to propose a toast
to myself.
Yes. Here's to me being on this date with you, having a wonderful time.
That's right.
I'm so proud of the both of us. Cling, cling.
Speaking of dating, I know we were talking about this in all areas of your life, but speaking of dating, I think a lot of women have a lot of indecision in dating because they're so afraid that they're going to mess it up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, of course. It's such a big, important piece of love in general. Romance is such a big, important piece to women in their lives. And we're all afraid that we're going to make the wrong choice. Maybe we're not all afraid of that. Maybe we're not. But
I think a large percentage of women are.
Yeah. And it can be a bit, daunting to know what the next best step is when it comes to like deciding who you want to spend most of your time with. Do you want to build a life with this person? Of course, that's further down the line in the dating realm, but these are all things that you think about, right?
Mm-hmm. I notice a lot of women too come to us and they say things such as, I don't know if I should go out with him. I don't know if this is a good idea. As long as there's no imminent danger involved, and I'm talking about physical danger.
Yeah.
What if it's okay to just say yes to a date? What if you don't have to worry about this point if you're leading him on or he's leading you on, or if it's just about staying in the moment, making the decision to go out and seeing if there's a romantic connection that can develop, or even before that, just having a great time with somebody. I had a client who told me recently about a date she went on, and the guy was kind of a jackass, but every time he would talk about how he couldn't stand, I don't remember exactly how she said it, but how he couldn't stand ordering, spending so much for wine. She would order a more expensive glass of wine.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
I was like, yes, that's my girl. And having fun with whatever the situation presented her instead of, getting so emotionally wounded from it and developing and thickening your skin in a way, not so that you're emotionally disconnected from the world, but actually so you're emotionally more connected and you feel like you can allow emotions to run through you and you can still feel connected to the world and don't have to disconnect and shut down because it's just way too much. I was listening to her and she was going on and there were several incidents throughout that date. She decided, I'm an adored woman and damn it, I'm going to have a phenomenal time tonight, even if this guy is a total douchebag.
Yeah.
A total asshat. I'm going to have a great time. And you can do that. I did that in my dating experiences. I had one guy, playing with his resistance. He was such a fucking jackass. But I didn't let it offend me. Now, not everyone has to do this. I don't think that he wasn't super disrespectful to me. He was just a very grumpy ass guy in general. And I was very amused by he was so not tainted. That's not the word I'm looking for. He was so jaded about women. He was so fucking jaded about women and so frustrated with women. And I just loved playing with that resistance and letting him go through things. And I remember because he would talk about how he would never buy women drinks, and then he would end up buying me a drink and just little things. And I just had so much fun with it. And it's not as if he got anything off of me. In fact, I frustrated the hell out of him because I wasn't giving him what he said he wanted. So playing with that level of resistance and understanding the power dynamic between men and women, that's how you make a date so much fun. And that's how you own that decision that you made to go out on the date, regardless if it turns to shit or not. Now, I'm not suggesting if a guy's being, I want to make this very clear, if he is being incredibly disrespectful to you, I'm not suggesting that you stay there and play it out. Okay, that's an advanced level technique that most women really, really struggle with. Okay, I can do it, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I have extremely thick skin when it comes to stuff like that. But there's even levels I won't journey to. So if a man's being very disrespectful, own the decision to get up and leave a date. The only way to become a decisive person is to actually make decisions, execute them, and own them. And the more you do, the better you will get at it. And sometimes, no matter how great you are at making the decision, sometimes you're going to fuck it all up. That's okay too, because a lot of times in the fuck up, there's another opportunity that you wouldn't have seen if the fuck up hadn't happened.
Right. Today's show is sponsored by thecouragekit.com. Are you tired of meeting craptastic men, going on craptastic dates, and feeling craptastically inept at dating and love? Let us rework your dating experiences, single lady. Fun, pleasure, and magic included. No experience required. We'll see you at thecouragekit.com.
This is Jen.
And this is Steph.
Don't forget to subscribe to our show in your favorite podcast app, as well as share Single Smart Female with all of your single girlfriends. And if you would like to play around to learn more about Mantourage dating, come see us at havehimyourway.com.
Talk to you next time.